there is a ton of discussion about fractional CFO services and what is the best way to package any service in the accounting space, but specifically how to package fractional CFO work. So let's just start with one of my favorite theories, courtesy of Charlie Munger, which is the theory of inversion, which is if you did not want to sell any packages, what would you do? How would you make sure no one bought them? Well, you probably wouldn't promise anything desirable. You would charge way too much money. You wouldn't think about a smart way to structure how you get paid the money that you'd like to get paid. There would be no guarantees, so you would never reverse any sort of risk. You would just expect the buyer to take all the risk. You wouldn't have any clear deliverables or timelines in which you would deliver those things. You would probably wait to ask for a commitment or use a proposal software to think that will help you close the deal. You would likely just not actually tailor your messaging to a specific avatar. You would probably just be offering fractional CFO services to anybody and everybody. And there's probably a few other ones, but if you just take those principles and you flip them on their head, you're going to end up in a really good spot to create a really strong offer, an irresistible offer, or to use the accounting industry's terminology, a package that sells itself. So I'm going to actually do something a little different today. I put a little tweet out there that I basically said access to the Alex Hormozi AI bot. It feels a little bit like having answers to the test. It's a completely unfair advantage. And so I'm going to just share my screen and I'm going to show you the fractional CFO package that it created with some very simple prompting. It was nothing crazy. And I'm going to walk you through it. And I'll also suggest maybe some of the things that I would consider or change or make different as it relates to this. But I just wanted to show you this because it's my first time doing a live with access to the tool. And anyway, I thought you guys might want a little inside look. So I did start off with a prompt at the top. Very simple, literally like the simplest thing. I did reference one of the money models that I thought were probably one of the best ones to offer for a very premium service. There are a lot of good examples of how to charge, how to make money in this book. Highly recommend everyone gets it. We also have 800 books to donate. So if anybody would like a book, just hit me up and I have 800. So as long as you're a follower of the channel, I'd be more than happy to make sure you get your copy of Money Models. Because again, I have 800 of them and I need a little help moving them. So if you want one, just let me know in the comments and I'll make sure you get one. That being said, the money model that's discussed a little bit later on is known as a waived fee money model. Now, for all of you who have followed me, you know that I can treat the fee word as the F word. I don't like fee. I think it's a silly word. But for the context of this video and using the same language that Alex has used, we will, of course, just refer to the waived fee money model. And it will explain a little bit about it. And I'll provide more context in just a minute on exactly what that means in relation to a CFO offer. But let's go ahead and scroll down a little bit here. So one of the things I love about the Hormozi bot is, well, two things in particular, well, three. The first is it always asks follow-up questions, and they're normally either data-driven or they are specific to enhancing the initial prompt. It feels extremely conversational in that regard. The second thing is the quality of information it gives, even without the contextual information, is still incredibly strong. And the third thing is the way it ends the messages, which I'll show you in a little bit here. So again, this is follow-up messages, and then it's going to I'm going to help you out. But it's basically going to say, this is what we would move with first here. And I give the answers to these in my response down below. But essentially, who are you selling this to? Comfortable 12-month commitment, right? If not, what's the max term? And then target monthly price. And then can you quantify your core outcome? In other words, what do you want to make? What do you want them to do, right? Like, how are they actually going to, what is the dream outcome that you're looking to achieve with them? And so now we're going to get into pricing structure, standard month to month, okay? With a monthly setup rate plus a setup fee. And this is one of the important parts that I just want to cover here. And I'm going to read from the book because I think that this is a fantastic little story here. So it says 3 to 5 times the monthly amount for the setup fee. Now, normally when you look at most, setup fees for any accounting firm services, they're normally pretty cheap. They're almost never 3 to 5 times the monthly rate. So, $1,000 client, you don't normally see setup fees that are $3,000 to $5,000. You might see a setup fee that's like a couple hundred, maybe 1,500. Maybe five, maybe $3,000. They might scratch that, but typically not. And those setups usually don't even involve the back work, which is typically billed separately. So anyway, I don't mean to digress, but just an important note here. Okay, why is the setup fee so large? Okay, because you're going to give them an either or option to take A or B, with the intention of them wanting to waive the setup fee for the long-term commitment. I'm going to explain this in just a second here, but I'm going to get into the story here. So this is page 153 in Money Models. I tell customers they have two options. You can go month to month with a big setup fee. It covers the cost of getting you started, but you can leave whenever. Or if you commit to a year, I'll waive the fee. And I make the fee huge, so buyers commit to avoid it. I also have them initial that they understand that they can quit early if they pay the fee I waived or cancel services. Why such a big fee? Alex asked. It costs a lot to quit in the beginning, so that keeps them engaged. And Alex chimed in. And once they pass that point, it costs about the same to cancel as it does to stick it out. So they just stick it out. Bingo. So in other words, you want to be very careful about providing a ton of value in the beginning of a fractional CFO engagement. And this is another huge point that I make to our clients is like most of the value that is generated in an accounting relationship, yes, it has long-term value, but most of the value is actually generated in the first 2 to 3 months. It is all of the cleanup. It's all of the organization. It's implementing your various charts of accounts, your playbooks, your flashboards, your whatever it is, all the things that you do, your KPI tracking, getting their payroll optimized, changing their entity types, all those things can happen in a very short period of time. And so if you don't charge appropriately for it or have the money model that protects the annual engagement where the value is spread out throughout the entire year, despite the vast majority of it being delivered up front, you just run an unnecessary risk. Okay, so ran over on that particular topic. I just wanted to make sure I explained that clearly, because if you just read this initial line, you're probably like, why would you do this, right? Like, what is the point of this? And hopefully I've explained it thoroughly, okay? I'm going to skip this, but this is basically just saying like, make sure that you have an annual renewal fee so that you can make sure that you can protect the engagement or the profitability of the engagement as time moves along. This is just something you can essentially put into your service agreement. I'm a fan of just reselling the service package after 1 year. I don't think it's that hard to do, but if you want to go with something that's maybe a little bit more legalese-ish / layered in there and then use that as a lever to help convert the buyer for another year of service, you're welcome to try that out. So this is what I meant when we talked about how would you destroy it. You would make no promises, and this is the biggest issue with almost every fractional CFO engagement or offer that I see. I just go, well, what are they buying? Like, what are you going to do for them? And they go, well, it's going to be high level advice or guidance, or we're gonna make the financial operation stronger. And I go, stronger how? By what metric are you going to measure the success of your deployment of advisory services into their business? How will the client know? And they go, well, they'll have stronger cash flow. I'll be like, oh, so they make more money. Well, yeah, of course. They make money faster. In other words, you're going to help them implement plays that bring cash forward quicker. You're going to implement plays that cut their costs and their vendors or delay payments to their vendors or set up what are the actual things that you're going to target with them. And so again, I want to just emphasize, like, your package can never sell itself if the promise that you make you're unwilling to stand by and the client doesn't actually want. Like, if the client wants it and you're like, I will stand by this promise, you will sell way more of these, like way more of them, because it's a defined, clear objective with a conditional guarantee associated with it. Now, this isn't going to discuss conditional guarantees. At least I don't think it does. It basically says what they get. We'll cover that in more detail in a second here. But I want to emphasize the conditional aspect of a guarantee, because anytime I bring up guarantees, whether they're clients or not clients, I can see people get scared. They get scared. And guarantees are just a way of saying, if you do your part and I do my part, I have a very, very, very good reason to believe we will achieve this thing. And then for some reason, you do your part. That's the condition. You do your part and I do my part, and we don't get there. I don't want you to feel like you lost anything in the process. So again, if you're going to make a bold claim, you have every single right to say these are the conditions that must be met in order to achieve this outcome. And if you fail to meet any of them for any reason, the guarantee is null and void. You have the right to say that. And so here's a good way to go through and be like, what should my conditions be? And just a quick heads up, don't have 50 conditions, okay? Like, you can have as many as you want, but I honestly recommend no more than like 5 max. And they're usually, and again, in the accounting space, they would normally be something to the effect of all of your advisory calls you show up to are prepared for and engage fully in the context of the conversation. All document requests are adhered and fulfilled to within 48 business hours, okay? And then whatever the other ones that, again, I would just say you can look at and say, if the client does these things, and typically it's just related to get us what we need when we want, show up and pay attention, typically, okay? As long as you can clearly illustrate that in writing and explain it, you can make guarantees, okay? So they do put it in here. You can also mirror the next month free if target missed. In other words, if we do not increase the profit of this service line by 10%, assuming all advice has been followed and implemented within a 30-day period, the next month is free of charge. In other words, we don't want to take your money if we don't achieve the objective. It's a different type of guarantee as opposed to money back guarantee. It's more of like a just roll the month forward if you miss your targets. But anyway, just another variation there. What do they get? So again, most accounting firms can say what they do, but they cannot say it in a way that makes it enticing or sexy. If there's a Shakespearean quote that I use a lot, would a rose smell just as sweet by any other name? It's a question. And my answer is, well, yes, it would smell sweeter if it had a better name than Rose, but Rose is a great name. So again, these things are named in a strong way already, right? Like decision memos, weekly leadership finance cadence. I gave you one earlier that I stole from one of our top clients, Jackson Atkins, who did 1.2 million in advisory services in 6 months. Flashcards instead of dashboards, or flashboards, excuse me, because it's meant to imply speed. A dashboard, yeah, you're dashing. It sounds, but flash sounds even cooler. It sounds unique and original, right? So again, there are ways to take what is already a known commodity in the accounting space, give it a little bit of a new flair or spin by simply calling it something new. That's it. It's not that hard. So be clear on what they get. Again, compliance terms. We just talked about this a second ago. And then simple scripting. This is where most packages die. Doesn't matter how well constructed. Nobody asks for the business. They just send you an engagement letter. It's like, cool. Which option do you prefer? Okay. Option A, right? We'll get more into the amounts in a second, because on the reprompt, I give it more information. This or this, you can cancel whenever you want. Or 12-month commitment, waive the setup, you quit early, you pay the fee. Okay. And then obviously you want to make sure you layer in performance and guarantees upon acceptance. Okay. So I said, hey, selling to SMBs, 12-month commitment, 10K per month target price, unlock 10% profit margin bump and 10% revenue bump in first 90 days in terms of the promise that I would feel comfortable making as a fractional CFO. Okay. And again, you can make whatever you want. I just made it very simple. I just want to pick something that everyone could readily understand and recognize and look at. Okay. So $40,000, 4 times the monthly recommended amount, and said between 3 to 5. So in other words, it's a $40,000 setup, $10,000 today, and then $10,000 a month thereafter, and you can cancel at any time. Or we can waive the $40,000 setup, but it's a 12-month commitment at $10,000 per month. And if you cancel early, you pay the waived $40,000 fee. Which would you prefer? Okay, so just make sure you make the offer very clearly. Add an annual renewal fee. We already covered this. Okay. So promise. Okay. We'll unlock a 10% profit margin bump, or this is, I said and, but the bot's a little smarter sometimes because you can hedge your risk on a guarantee, which is you'll get one of these two things for sure. Margin bump or a 10% revenue bump in the first 90 days. If not, and you did your part, we keep working for free until we hit it. In other words, we stop billing your card. We don't do anything until we see a 10% lift on either your revenue or your profit margins. Okay. Obviously, you can be more explicit in it. Conditions, ironically, these are literally what I already said. Deliverables, already covered these. Proof. So I really like this. This is the one thing that I am flabbergasted that accounting professionals do not wield like a sledgehammer. Like they should just be constantly leveraging their own superpower as much as they possibly can, which is data, which is using numbers, which is being able to find the truth in the numbers, specifically for their clients. And so if I am a relatively successful fractional CFO, okay, I've been in business for a couple of years, 2, 3, 5 years, whatever it is, and I've had 20 fractional CFO clients, okay, I should be able to point to the averages of what happens in the first 90 days when you work with me as a fractional CFO. In other words, I should say the average profit bump in the first 90 days of implementing my systems and playbooks to increase cash flow, the average is this amount, which is why I feel totally fine guaranteeing 10%. My average is 15%. So, I mean, I expect you to do at least the average, but even if you don't do it, I think you'd be pretty happy with a 10% bump. Am I right? Because based on your revenue and the profit numbers that you gave to me ahead of the call, right? When you filled out the intake form, right? When you essentially booked the call, a 10% profit bump for you equates to, and again, if you're selling fractional CFO, I mean, you're usually not talking to clients doing, I mean, $1 million is the bare minimum, but it's usually closer to like 3 million, right? Like it's usually what it's pretty close to. Like, so you're profiting $1 million. Okay, cool. Well, a 10% bump on that is $100,000. That's the minimum we're going to be able to do in the first X days. And that's not even including if we did a 10% bump on top of that, which is another blah, 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 right? So I just think that the beauty of what you've accomplished is never properly demonstrated. I have seen and sat through so many accounting firm presentations, and I'm just like, why won't you make a promise? Why won't you show me the proof of the promise? And I'm going to just be as blunt as I can. It's because either the clients they work with don't grow, no offense to anyone. It's just they charge money, things don't really change. And it's usually because they're not great at getting the clients to be compliant with the request. It usually has nothing to do with the service provider. I know the game, guys. Trust me. I get it. Or they deliver great results. And I don't want to say they're lazy because they're not. I just don't think they think to aggregate the data to turn it into a marketing and sales claim that is real and authentic and true. Like they just don't think about doing it. And it is the most powerful thing you could possibly say to make a package sell itself. Just point to the truth of what you've accomplished so far. And if you haven't done it yet, bet big on yourself, right? Like you don't need to say it. Clearly, I just said I've never heard it in an accounting firm presentation in my life. And if you can't say it because you don't have the proof yet, just bet on yourself and start building the case studies, right? And then you have that when no one else does. So anyway, track meaningful data. Exact script to present, 2 ways to start. Option A is 40K. I already covered this, but just saying it one more time, why this works. Okay, the third thing that I said I was going to cover last is I just love the way this bot talks to you. Like most bots in the business space are like kind of passive, but they sound like authoritative. This one is the only one that's like, do this now. Do this right now. Do this today. It sources the data. So if you want to go and dive deeper into some of the things that I just referenced, like literally page 143 on money models, like I'm literally on page 147 when I read the quote. So it's right on the money. And I'm gonna, go full screen here. Let me just do this for a second here. Okay. You may not have access to the Hormozi bot. The bot isn't the point of today's live. It was just to give a little bit of behind the scenes, a little bit of like little structure to how you could think through the development of one of these, one of the things that you could include. But your offer will be different from someone else as a fractional CFO. And the main reason it's different isn't because you're a better or worse CFO than someone else. It's because who you serve is different. And so I put SMBs in there. If the first thing that I would change about the way I prompted this or the way that I would construct any development of any package or offer is I'd go, who is buying this? It's always the first step. And it should be as specific as possible. $2 million plus law firms. $2 million plus veterinarian practices. $5 million plus logistics companies. And then when I go to create the bundle of things that they're buying, the services, the features, and the benefits, I would put in a healthy amount of time into saying, how do I make each of these services feel like it's specific to logistics? I understand accounting is accounting, guys. I don't need the chat and the comment section to be flooded with niches or window dressing. I understand accounting is accounting. Okay, I know that. But still, specialists always get more attention than generalists. Specialists deliver more value per dollar and second spent than a generalist 100% of the time, because they know things about that space. They have depth in that space that a generalist doesn't even begin to think about or understand. They don't understand the average KPIs. They don't understand who the movers and shakers are. They don't know the best insurance carriers. They don't know the best software companies specific to that space. They don't know the other influencers or industry experts that you have close relations to that also serve that industry. They have no idea about those things. And so this is a part of what makes a package sell itself. Is it's not always just, we'll make sure your books are up to date, or I'll provide high level oversight, or we will be able to replace your controller with this, right? Like you want to make it a good deal, of course. You want to paint the money math that shows them this is a good deal, but oftentimes it's those intangibles. It's the things where you go, oh yeah, one of the things that you get, only the fractional CFO clients get it. I have this Rolodex of top tier service providers that I personally vetted over the last decade. And honestly, I always want to make sure you're working with the best. So that's just something, I just want to make sure you get that. You know what I mean? Nobody says that. Nobody references the strength of their Rolodex or their phone, their vetted contact of referrals, their centers of influence. They don't bring it up. So then that entire piece of value is not present there. It's just doesn't get said, so there's no association to it. That's just one example of many that you can put in that would, again, make you be a specialist, but also give names to things that people take for granted that have real value that help convert more buyers. And again, if you want to learn more about those things, if you want to get deeper into these types of conversations, I just did a fantastic one-on-one with a client, Daniel, later yesterday, where we talked about a different money model, more specific to smaller monthly recurring revenue clients, trying to convert more from a higher ticket intro product into his monthly recurring service model. But anyway, there's a lot of cool pockets of opportunity right now. And if you want to explore more of those, I would love to do that with you. So do me a favor, click the links down below. They'll be floating all around here to explore the Create Your Dream Firm program and or the Dream Firms network. If you enjoyed this, just let me know in the comment section down below. And I sincerely hope that I can get you a copy of this. Just let me know in the comment section, and I'll be happy to get you one. And also, hope to see you inside the Dream Firms network, where we can help you create your dream firm. And never forget, only you can create your dream firm, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your workday, and I will see you inside the Dream Firms network.